Of course, you know that Brexit did not happen immediately after the Brexit referendum in 2016. There were exhausting negotiations between the UK and the EU, first about the exit of the UK, and then about the future relationship between the EU and the UK. After the official Brexit on January 31st in 2020, where the UK officially left the EU and with it the Parliament, happens to Farage there was a transitional period until December 31st in 2020 to implement the new relationship. There are indeed some longer transitional periods still running for some areas, but this was the most important one. And people are talking a lot about the level of preparation for Brexit on different sides, or indeed the lack of preparation. So in a number of my videos, I will give you an overview about the extent of preparations by different countries involved, and of course, the UK and the EU. And today I will tell you about the preparations in Latvia. After the Brexit referendum on June 23rd in 2016 and before the end of the transition period on December 31st in 2020, Latvia, like other European Union member states, engaged in preparations to manage the potential impacts of the United Kingdom's withdrawal from the EU. The main focus of Latvia's Brexit preparations was to ensure minimal disruption to its citizens, businesses, and overall economy. And of course, as usual, I have some key areas of the focus for you. Latvia took steps to prepare for potential changes in trade regulations and customs procedures with the UK. This included identifying potential bottlenecks at border crossings and implementing measures to streamline customs clearance processes. And Latvia, along with other EU countries, sought to safeguard the rights of UK citizens residing in Latvia and Latvian citizens living in the UK. And this involved establishing procedures for residency and work permits to ensure that individuals affected by Brexit could continue to live and work without major disruptions. And Latvian authorities assessed the potential economic impact of Brexit on trade, investment, and various sectors of the economy. The government explored strategies to mitigate negative effects, and it identified new opportunities for trade and collaborations. And Latvia worked to ensure that its regulations and standards remained aligned with those of the EU, even as the UK's regulatory framework evolved post-Brexit. This was particularly important for industries that relied on EU regulations for market access. Businesses in Latvia that relied on supply chains involving the UK assessed potential disruptions and adjusted their logistics and procurement strategies as needed. And Latvia, as a member of the Eurozone, monitored developments in the financial services sector, including potential impacts on banking, investments, and financial regulations. The Latvian government communicated regularly with its citizens, businesses, and stakeholders to provide information about Brexit developments, potential changes, and necessary actions to take. Latvia explored the possibility of bilateral agreements with the UK to address specific issues, such as trade and citizens' rights, outside the EU's broader negotiations with the UK. And Latvia reviewed and, if necessary, upgraded its border infrastructure to handle potential changes in customs procedures and the traffic flow. It's important to note that these preparations were, of course, part of a broader EU-wide effort to manage the impacts of Brexit. The EU and the UK negotiated a withdrawal agreement and a political declaration that outlined the terms of their future relationship, which came into effect at the end of the transition period on December 31st in 2020. And this agreement addressed various aspects of the EU-UK relationship, including trade, citizens' rights, and regulatory cooperation. Before the end of the transition period on December 31st, 2020, Brexit preparations were considered highly important for all affected countries, both within the European Union and the United Kingdom. The transition period began after the UK officially left the EU on January 31st in 2020, and it allowed time for both parties to negotiate their future relationship, but also to make the necessary arrangements. And those preparations were differently on different sides, and that's why I think it's important that I make these videos. Not so many will watch it, but nevertheless, I think it's important that you know what happened. And if you want to know more right now, the next video is here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.